The M.J.H 1100 Gundam Barbatos high resolution model plastic version. There's no denying that this kit looks fantastic, but is this the case of style over substance? Well, let's find out. Going right into this kit has just been straight built, so no panel lines, and the only mods I've done is just paint up the eyes in metallic green Gundam marker, but everything else is just straight out of the box. Man, does it look good. I think just some simple panel lining and a top coat will really make this guy pop. And credits to Bandai for the design, as this is almost, but not quite, a straight copy of the high resolution model design. So going along with the design, it's got really nice color separation. The extra gray pieces really help separate the look, and it's great to see bits of dark gray poking through the armor. It really adds to the effect. I don't know what else you could want from something like this. Really, everything seems pretty spot on. Everything looks great. I'm a leg kind of guy, and these legs do not disappoint. The legs have nice details all around, and I'm loving the little gray toes. What is interesting to note is that this isn't exactly a translation of Bandai's HIRM model. The head seems to be ripped straight from the no-grade 1100 full mechanics version, plus details of the chest, like the big blue piece, is just one whole piece, whereas in the HIRM model it was two separate pieces. But also, I think the proportions aren't exactly the same either as the Bandai HIRM model. The frame seems to be a mixture of the 1100 no-grade and the HIRM, and most notably the chest-torso area. The pistons and the torso are way shorter than the HIRM model. Heck, even the line art of the IBO Gundams have a longer torso. Even the high grade has a longer torso. Unless you're not into this kind of squat-ish, shorter torso looking thing, then this might not be for you. But I think it's a pretty easy fix to extend the torso. You know, just layer in some plot plate in there to extend the torso. But it is interesting to note that this doesn't seem to be exactly the 1100 frame, the 1100 no-grade frame, and it doesn't really seem to be the HIRM frame either. So I think this is kind of somewhere in between. So right off, I'm just going to talk about a couple issues I had with this kit. Overall, the build was pretty simple. It was pretty easy, and there weren't any major fitting issues. There was a couple hard parts down here on the legs with these dark gray insert pieces that were kind of confusing and a little difficult, but nothing too much trouble. There's not too much flash on this kit either, which is pretty good for a third-party kit. With all these sharp details, I was expecting to sand down and cut down with my hobby knife a lot of these edges, but they're all pretty clean. There's just a little bit of flash, maybe on like a couple pieces that you might need to clean up. But first of all, these two pistons at the top right here really like to come off. They're really tiny, and they're only held down on that single little thing, so you really might need to glue them. Also, for the head, this red piece, I had some fitting issues. I had to sand down the mouthpiece as well as the little red piece to make it fit, and it still can pop off sometimes, so just be careful with that. Also, there's some armor parts, like this gray piece. It just slides in there on the bicep, and it can pop off pretty easily too, especially when you're posing this guy around. The shoulders can come off sometimes pretty easily. What else? Oh, these gray areas, which are super nice detailing, but they can also pop off. These tiny little ones on the wrist armor, yeah, that can pop off. So you might need to glue those as well, just so you don't lose them. I almost threw them away because I cut them out, and I think they fell out in the box when I was storing this guy, and I almost threw them away because they're pretty tiny. So you might want to watch out for that. I'll talk about some more of the stuff later on, but yeah. So moving on to the articulation. The articulation on this guy is pretty good. Let's see. The arm can rotate all the way around, no problems, but it does look kind of funny once his arms are all the way around, just due to the way that it's designed. The shoulder movement, the shoulders are on its own separate hinge, so they can move up and down, which allows for the arm to get pretty good range of motion. The arm can also rotate right here by the bicep and bend right here at a little more than 90 degrees. It's not great, but it's fine. It's okay. It's not great. So the arms can move up here. The hands are on a hinge, so they can move back and forth. He can do the little bright slap, if you get that. And he can also, it's on a ball joint, so he can rotate, but the hands are kind of a problem on this kit, and I'll talk about them more later, but they do have a tendency to fall out. The chest movement, the chest is on a weird kind of hinge movement. It's connected to the waist by a peg, right here, a short little peg, and just turning the waist will hinder the red parts. The red part of the crotch will interfere with this point right here. So it will block it, and it'll severely limit the waist articulation. As far as the chest goes, there's not much. The pistons on the top, this just fell out. The pistons on the top are kind of attached to the top of the torso, so they move along with it, but barely. It doesn't do much. Moving on to the backpack, and you would say, what? Backpack with articulation? But yes, actually. So these two gray triangle things on both sides can pop out to store the weapons. We'll talk about that more later. The back thruster can move up and out, just like the high grade. Well, I only have the high grade, but it can move out, which is a nice detail. I like that. These can turn into their little sub-arm things. It's got articulation. It slides up and down here. If you can see that, it's on a little track right here. It's attached by this tiny little piston, so it's not really meant to hold anything or be like a manipulator, but it kind of works, but it'll fall off. It's more just kind of an extra detail to attach onto stuff. This part comes out, which I guess is to simulate kind of the fingers of the arm. I don't know. It's kind of cool. It's a cool little detail, but it is kind of awkward to handle. And yeah, it's a cool detail, and I'm glad it's there, but if it wasn't, you know, I wouldn't be too sad about it. So the head can move up. Oops, that's not up. It can move up, but it gets blocked by the backpack pretty easily. So it can move up this far. Actually, yeah, it can move up this far, which isn't much. It can move down. It doesn't have any chicken movement. It's just on like a single joint, and it can kind of tilt a little bit. Yeah, pretty good. It can rotate, not all the way 360, unless you're very strategic about it. You know, making sure to avoid all of the pistons and all of the things. So it can move around. The head does kind of pop off kind of easily, but that is that. Moving on to the legs. Now the legs are, I think, actually let's move on to the torso, the waist, hips. So these front skirts can move up about this far, which is good. The back, or not the back, the side skirts can move up all the way up, except they pop out. They can move up. They got hit on this thing, but they can move up, which is good. The back skirts don't move at all, which is fine. So yeah, the front skirts, if you move the front skirts up and making sure, being very strategic about all this movement, otherwise everything will just pop off. But the front leg can then move all the way up like this and do a front kick, which is, it's fine. It's pretty good. And speaking of this foot, it also has a double bend. Look at that. A double bend. This works. It's fine. It is technically a double bend, but it looks really kind of weird. So just the way that the frame is designed again, I kind of wish there was some sort of part separation. It's kind of hard with the Barbatos legs design, but I kind of do wish that there was some, you know, just kind of moving parts, because this looks kind of like a mouth, like, hey man. Okay, anyways, this looks like a mouth. I mean, wait, no, there's just a huge gap there, and the way that this is designed, the thigh is really small and the leg is really long. So even though it's kind of like a double bend, it looks kind of funny. But it is there and it works, and something else just fell. Don't worry about that, it's the hand. The hands are... Okay, anyways. So the legs can rotate, not all the way around, but it does get some pretty good motion there. It can twist. Oh my goodness, the feet fell. Okay, the side skirts. Once you move the side skirts up, this guy can spread his legs. Spread his legs pretty wide. Oh my goodness. If you maneuver that correctly, it can spread its legs and do the splits all the way, which is really good. It's a thing that's there if you want, if you're into that kind of stuff. What is interesting to note is that there's no action-based connector. There's no hole or peg. I don't think there is one, an action-based connector. I haven't seen it. It's not in the instructions. It might be on an extra piece in the runner. I will check, and if it is there, I will talk about it in the accessories. And if it is not, then I will talk about it in the accessories. But anyways, so articulation, moving on, I'm just gonna leave all of the pieces that kind of come off, just kind of everywhere. But anyways, the feet articulation is pretty good. It can move down this far, which I guess isn't down that far, but the ankle guards are on a separate hinge, so they can move up. Well, I guess the feet fell. I'll talk about these feet. Oh my goodness. So anyways, these ankles can rotate all the way this way, which is pretty good. So if you stand him out and stand him out using the aforementioned awesome spreading legs, it can move like that. The rocking ankles are pretty good. I like them. They're not bad at all. Yep. Anyways, anything else to talk about for the feet? No, I do not think so. So, actually, the legs can only move back that far. They are hindered by the back skirts. Also, there is no kind of separate joint for the legs. So it's just that one joint, you know, there's none of that hip rocking movement. It's just a single kind of peg universal joint right there. And that's it. That's pretty much it for the articulation. Now let's go on to the accessory. Oh my goodness. So the accessories! Away! So for size comparisons of the 1/100 M.J.H. Barbatos, I have with me the 1/144th high grade. This is the only other Barbatos I have at the moment. I don't have the full mechanics version or the no grade. So yeah, you can see actually the difference in proportions, kind of. You can see that the high grade does have a little longer waist. You might not be able to tell, but it does. The proportions are a little different, which is something to note. I haven't painted it at all or anything, but yeah, you can see the difference right there. Also, in comparison, I only have a couple master grades, but this one is the 1/100 Justa. So you can see right here also that the Barbatos is actually a little smaller than the Justa. The Justa is, you know, just a couple centimeters taller, but this is the size that you're about to get. So moving on to accessories, we've got 4 pairs of hands. We got 2 holding hands, 2 fists, 2 open hands, and 2 trigger hands. The thing about these hands though is that most of them don't work. These are okay, but once some of these have kind of weird fitting issues where they kind of don't really fit onto each other and they'll just break off. Some, maybe I just didn't assemble this right, but some don't even fit together, which kind of sucks. Most of the hands that I want to work will work. As far as, you know, this left open hand works. This right one is really squishy. And by squishy I mean it doesn't fully, you know, lock into place. The left trigger finger hand works perfectly. The right one, maybe I'm using the wrong guard, but it is just not working. That's kind of a drawback on this kit. The hands, not all of them will work. So moving on to the accessories, this is the smooth bore gun. It's freaking huge and long and gigantic, and it's really cool actually. Here it is, the height comparison. Well, you can't even, with a height comparison with the Barbatos, and it's huge. It's really tall. It looks really cool. It's nicely detailed. It's got details all around, white pieces there. The little mini machine gun is up there. The barrel is white, and it's long and huge. Plus, it could also fold up. You can collapse this together, then slide this part in. Well, first you could slide that also in, and then slide this section all the way down. And you see right here, this area can fit onto the back of the Barbatos, and it can be stored on its back. It might be easier to take off the top or some of the pieces like that. Then, well, actually, I would actually put it right here. You can just take that part off. Flip these two gray triangles out, then just kind of slide that down like this, and it should lock on perfectly. Then you can just plug everything back in, and it'll be great. So yeah, it looks pretty good stored on the back as well. It would actually look better if my Barbatos had hands. So I'll give him hands right now. So once you fit the hand over the gun, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to want to attach the backpack part. I would attach it completely off. Well, first you want to rotate this down and kind of hinge it out. So like in the show, it's going to be like a little extender arm for the Barbatos to hold the gun. I'm going to take it out completely right now, just because it's easier to handle when you're fully attaching everything together. So you want to slide that back on like before, like you're storing it. Then you want to maneuver this correctly. So I would first plug in the hand like so. Actually, he holds it in between the bottom like that. So take that out a little bit. You want to make sure everything isn't in the way. The hand just popped off, but that's fine. I'm just gonna go ahead and plug that in first. I'm gonna go ahead and plug in the white part in first, and then I will reattach the hand. This whole kind of backpack manipulator sub-arm thing is kind of finicky. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I would just, rather just have him hold the gun on its own, because he totally can. But for the sake of this review, I will show you what that looks like when it's all together and the handle the whole thing just collapsed apart into pieces. And oh my goodness, after pretty much like 10-15 minutes of struggling, I finally got the gun to attach to the backpack. There it is. It's in the hand, and it is attached by a sub-arm to the backpack. And it looks cool, but I don't think it was worth it. Yeah, it's really finicky, and all the parts just kind of collapse. The hands just start collapsing into pieces. Then the actual gun, where the handle attaches to of the gun, also just kind of collapsed into a billion pieces. It's cool. It's definitely cool. I don't think the extra aesthetic of it attaching to the back really makes it look that much better. I think you could just have him hold it by himself, and you won't have to worry about, trying to attach everything, and it'll be fine. But yeah, it's a really cool gun. I actually really do like it, even though it is a pain in the butt. It looks cool when he's just like, it's a giant gun. What's not to like? Yep. That was more trouble than it was worth. I do not recommend ever doing this ever again. For myself. I won't do it. So in my opinion, the better weapon, or the more, it's not as cool as the gun, but it is better, I think. It's just easier to handle. So you can use this sword as the first form sword, which is just the regular gray piece, or you can use it as, it does come with pieces to make the fourth form sword, which are just these two little white pieces to make the guard for the sword. And whichever one you like better, you can just choose to put the armor or not. So the sword does come with an adapter that you can put on like this, and it fits on like that pretty well. And then you can just plug it onto the backpack. So once again, just unfold these gray triangles and then just slide that on, and he is ready to go. So store it on the back like that, and it does look pretty cool. And there he is with his sword. And he looks pretty cool. I really like the sword with the Barbatos. It would be nice to have the mace, but the original high resolution model didn't come with the mace. So this is actually not too bad either. And utilizing some of his pretty good articulation, you can get some pretty nice sword poses with him. I like my sword poses with that open hand, and it just looks kind of cool. Definitely easier to pose than the gun, and I don't know, this is probably how I'll display it. But yeah. In addition to the other accessories, we also come with a bunch of extra parts. Things of note are, this is actually the kind of V-fin kind of thing for the frame. If you wanted it to display it just in the Gundam frame mode, then it comes with that. It also comes with an extra eyepiece. So you could either maybe paint, if you wanted to paint in the eyes red or something and switch them out on the head, you can totally do that. What is also interesting are these frame pieces. These are just extra pieces that are on the runner, and when I first saw them I was like, hey, this looks like a foot. Maybe they're making a Barbatos lupus or something, and this is just extra pieces that comes with it. But actually, what is interesting, that these pieces can be made into something else. Yep, it actually comes with enough pieces to make the Barbatos 5th ground form / 6th form feet. So this is based off of the premium Bandai high resolution model Barbatos 6th form. It actually comes with enough pieces that you can actually attach this onto the feet. Oops. You can actually attach this onto the feet. It doesn't come with the extra armor, but it does all come on this runner. So I am thinking maybe M.J.H is planning to release a Barbatos 6th form, that heavy weapons kind of form as well, which was originally premium Bandai, but we'll see. It does come with these parts, which is kind of cool, and I'll show you guys what that looks like on the model right now. Take off the red, and you're also going to want to take off, ooh, good, okay, so this part normally won't come off that easily because it's attached to this frame part, but what I did, and what you might want to do if you are planning to change the feet, is to cut the nubs off a little bit. So shave them at an angle, cut them at an angle so that they're not just full-on pegs. Because if they're full-on pegs and then they're in the little holes, then they're just gonna get stuck in there and it's gonna be really hard to come off. I actually broke apart part of it and fixed it with some cement. But yeah, so just for easier removal, you might want to cut those pieces off first. So yeah. you're gonna want to cut these also at an angle. I might just go ahead and do that now. Yep, giant high heels, which are great. So let's see how it looks completely on the Barbatos. And just a short little break right now, but just see how much taller the extra high heels 6th form feet are compared to the originals. It's not quite an inch taller, but maybe pretty close. And here the Barbatos is in its with his 6th form feet. This is almost the 5th form, the 5th ground form, I think. All it's missing is like extra armor on the arms. But yeah, so these are the feet, and they're kind of long. They actually do kind of look cool. At first I was like, they kind of look really funny and kind of stubby. The toes look really stubby. I still kind of think that. They look kind of like chubby. It's like he got stung by a bee and his feet kind of just swelled up. But yeah, they're really big high heels, and they look kind of funny off to the side because it's like, whoa, he's so fashionable. But as far as the articulation, for the new feet go, as you can see, they go down kind of far, but it looks dumb, and the feet just fell off. That's a problem. Not a problem, but that does happen a bit, I think, if you do shave off the little nubs. Not shave off, if you cut them at an angle. They are easier to take off, which is good if you want to switch the feet, but they do also come off easier, so if you're moving them around a lot, just be warned. The back parts don't really do much. The ankle tilt is a bit more limited due to the side flaps. Those kind of move up on their own, but they're still connected to the front of the feet, so it's not going to move around much. So articulation is a little more limited in this form, but he is a lot taller, so that's a plus. So size comparisons with the 6th form legs, here it is with the high grade 144 Barbatos, and here he is back again with the master grade Jesta. So you can see definitely now with the 6th form legs, he is a bit taller. He's taller than the Jesta now. The head is taller, the horns are taller, and yeah. Overall, the M.J.H 1100 high resolution model Gundam Barbatos is a mixed bag. It's got fantastic details and color separation and okay posability, but the hands are a mess, and parts just keep popping out all over the place. It's a bit frustrating sometimes to handle, but once you finally get it into a pose when it looks good, it looks really good. Definitely the looks are its strongest suit. The additions of the Barbatos 6th form feet are cool too. Really, it sounds like most of the pluses about this kit seem to be Bandai's original detailing. But when what you're paying is 1/4 of the cost, it's kind of hard to be too upset. Overall, if you're interested in the high resolution models, but are hesitant to dish out over $100, this might be a good alternative. Just note, it's not without its problems. Thanks a lot for watching, I really appreciate it. I'm still new at this YouTube stuff, so leave a comment down below and let me know what kind of stuff you'd be interested in seeing me do. And make sure to subscribe and like it if you want. And follow me on Instagram too, at the Gunpla Bros. This is Byron from the Gunpla Bros. See you later.